If you could pinpoint a core fundamental of the video game series titled Sniper Elite, what would you say is that core mechanic? Don't think too hard now, it's not a difficult question. Yes, the way my chimp brain pieced this name together, it somehow came to the conclusion that snipers are in fact elite, and I, as a complete and utter degenerate, am not worthy of using said snipers. Let's give it a go. Trust me when I say that I got this challenge in the bag. After all, I have 10 years of Call of Duty experience on my side, and every single L that I ever took is a lesson learned, and it's going to pay dividends for this run. The rules are simple enough that even I could understand them. My primary weapon slot is reserved for sniper rifles, which means I cannot use my primary weapon slot because I hate myself. Secondary weapons include submachine guns, and the pistols are a man's best friend on the opposite side of the battlefield. Equipment is fine as well, although you'll notice very quickly that all of the lethal stuff is mostly utilized as booby traps because I like blowing shit up. You play as the video game protagonist, Carl Fairburn, a badass soldier who for this run will not be utilizing his greatest strength. What an unfortunate tragedy. It's May 1944, we're in the heart of World War II, people need to die, and things gotta get blown up. This is my favorite pastime. So mission 1, the Atlantic Wall, is already attempting to force the temptation of a sniper by having me eliminate 2 bumbling dumbnuts controlling some searchlights about 3 miles away. Under normal circumstances, this is simply a tutorial about how to use equipment and how to press the aim and shoot buttons. When am I ever in normal circumstances? Like the dumbass I am, my mind felt it the logical choice to pull out my sidearm with no scope instead. The first guy went down quickly, the second one turned on his 10-second God mode. I was shooting him in the face multiple times, but clearly he didn't like 45 ACP rounds, so the stereotypical Tommy gun was brought out and did infinite damage to his brain. The mainland was a lot more fun, as there are many more opportunities to unleash very, very fun violence. The missions themselves have several main and optional quests you're allowed to do, and because I like to make the OCD happy, I will always finish every single one of them. Kill challenges, side quests, the main objective, which I have to always do anyway if I want to do something with my life and make progression. Yeah, I'm doing every single thing. Also, there's 9 missions total in the campaign, and if we can't put a green check mark next to all 9, I'm gonna question why I bother living. We found a quote-unquote old friend in a processing plant of all places. Her name is Charlie, and I am 99% sure that these two have in the past. She gave us some sense of direction, more than what our commanding officer gave us anyway. I found a workbench, though it was a rifle workbench, so it might as well have been garbage. I did throw a suppressor on the M1911, so I guess it was one step above garbage. My Uber out there was blown to smithereens, and that was my only ride home, so now it was time to achieve a little retribution. I murdered everyone within a 20-mile radius. I had to achieve my inner Mortal Kombat brutality, and a bullet through the occipital bone, while not nearly as badass as Scorpion slicing Quan Chi up via decapitation, was enough to satisfy the desires. In the middle of mass genocide ensuing, the very first opportunity to fry some electronics presented itself, and who am I to say no to that? I once axed an old laptop of mine and threw it into some water for good measure, and to this day, I still have not reached a summit quite like that. Though if I were able to fry a radar that large in real life, I'd be appeased forever. On the rendezvous point to meet with my friend with benefits and get out of here, I found some anti-artillery guns just lying around, not even in use, and, you know, I found some satchel charges, which is essentially just old school C4, and yeah, things happened. I kind of want to talk about it further, but I won't. Just know that things happened. Very good things. Not so long after, I found a really big missile just sitting there, and it seemed like a really good time to pull a prank on somebody. I may have added my own modifications to it, killed the guys I was planning to prank, walked out, and before long I was treated to a nice fireworks show. I like blowing shit up. It's their fault this happened, they just left it sitting there unguarded. My reign of terror for spontaneous combustion seems to be never ending. I don't need professional help, I promise. Look, some guys were making fun of me in a foreign language that they thought I didn't know, but I do, so I blew up their houses. I couldn't think of any other logical vengeance, but then again, I'm an idiot, so take that for what you will. Can we also just talk about the fact that apparently I have a hit list? I didn't realize I signed up for the Agent 47 occupation, but being the only soldier trying to end World War II as far as I know means I gotta get dirty while the rest of the world stays clean. That's the mission here. Is there anything that this man cannot do? Short of turning invisible and flying with one wing, I don't think there's a thing on planet Earth that Carl Fairburn cannot do. He is the video game protagonist, to be fair. He probably took 100 bullets to the face in this mission alone with how gung-ho I play. But hey, where I'm a failure at life, I'ma make sure Carl here gets a damn medal for his efforts. It was a hasty retreat back to the safe house, and with some intel I gathered while partaking in my hobbies, it was on to mission 2. Our primary focus here is gathering information about a bastard who works for an even bigger bastard and his plans for ultimate world domination. Good to know that it's Thursday. Seeing as though not a single person even knows I'm here yet, I may have had some fun. It's common courtesy to let a man enjoy his last meal. I made sure he swallowed, and then put a bullet in his neck. I wonder if any of that chewed up mush from in there splattered out on the other side. You may have noticed I put a scope on my pistol. I had to find some kind of alternative for range because the Thompson ain't gonna cut it, sorry to say. While there was a lack in optional objectives outside of the chateau, the game more than made up for it by massively increasing enemy count compared to mission 1. At least it felt like it. Because I leave no stone unturned, for like half an hour I was gunning down enemies with my Thompson 1911 combo. It didn't matter if they were 2 feet in front of me or 50 miles away, I still had no need for my sniper. I gotta send as many of these heathens that are described by a name that starts with the letter N that I probably cannot say on this platform to the great big fatherland in the sky. Inside the chateau, it was time to turn on the hitman mode and gun down anybody who stood in my way in search of a mole's office. This place hired practically an entire militia as their own personal security, and while I appreciate the chance to stab a man in his jingle bells, I only have so many healing packs on me, and I'd rather not die because that discredits everything that Carl here represents that I cannot. We busted our way into the office finally. This room is way too nice for a single man to enjoy, so I went through the mole's things and found all his secrets, including his area of operations where lots of important figureheads are going to discuss things. I wonder what that means for me. I took his gun because I'm a petty bitch, stormed out of there like John Rambo when he's really pissed off, and it was on to another location. Beaumont St. Denis, yes, it's St. Denis, not Saint Denis like all you mofos trying to correct me during my Red Dead 2 challenge last year said. It's St. Denis, you I'm American, get over it. Go figure that the very important meeting between these German officials has to happen in what's practically a castle surrounded by ocean. Storming a beachside under the castle was not how I envisioned things going when I woke up that morning, but Mr. Fabian Richter is next on my hit list, and there's probably going to be a lot of bloodshed on the way there. Although I'm starting to notice a lack of things that need to be blown up, and by this point, I'm pretty sad. I give myself 3 uses for the phrase "I like blowing shit up" per video, and I just used it for the final time. Ah, damn it. Whatever. Point being, it was another mission with a lack of optional objectives. Gunning through the myriad of enemies was annoying in this mission because now the red sticky substance that circulates my body, it's called blood in case you didn't already know, was leaking from somewhere down south, and medkits were required to patch them up. With how close quarters combat I'm running this mission, it'd be almost criminal to use a rifle here. We stormed into the castle, and this is where things got confusing for me. The castle is tall, it's very vertical, up and down, there's hallways everywhere, enemies have set up campsites with s'mores and a barbecue. They weren't going anywhere, so I may have added a few more names to that hit list. Enemy number 37, enemy number 69, you get the idea. I don't know their names, I probably don't know how to pronounce their names even if I did, so they're numbers. You'd think with how often I miss some of these easy shots that I'd take 5 minutes and go to the gun range and practice. You'd also think with how I insult myself as often as I do, either my confidence would be completely shot, no pun intended, or I'd be locked in a mental asylum. Yet here I am providing probably 20 minutes of nonsensical bullshit for you to listen to while you're off doing other things. I know how YouTube works. The interior of the castle itself was so disorganized that I had to leap out a window and climb up a few pairs of vines just to get to the top. How in the blue hell this guy just let me crouch walk up to him like half the players who play Battle Royale and stab him in his meat is beyond me. While the girls up there were gossiping about who broke up with who, I was playing one-handed and drinking some water. You should drink some water right now. And sit up straight, damn it. I know you're slouching because I'm slouching and I need to not. My hit list target was amongst these degenerates. I grabbed all the loot from their bodies because this is a looter shooter and dipped out of there. Before I could though, I completely forgot that I set a live bomb on one of the bodies I killed like 15 minutes prior. Gunther over there tried to cartwheel down the stairs to escape. What an act of cowardice. When you have a mission titled War Factory and the main objective here is to destroy the furnace, Oh, I think the happy chemicals just released into my brain. Yep, this is my new favorite mission, and I've only gone down the zip line so far. The Germans thought setting up shop in a small town in the middle of bumble nowhere would prevent me from finding them. Oh, how cute they try to be. So my hit list target for the day loves shooting rats of all things. Apparently the few friendlies who bothered showing up for work today got wind of this information and rigged a dead mouse with a bomb inside. Man loves shooting at the mice. The mice have boom boom inside of them. 1 + 1 = 2, and dead men tell no tales. This might be my favorite kill in the game. Intel for the next mission is always great, but keeping it locked in a safe is a terrible idea, especially if there's a key around. Even if there's not, I just blow it up anyway. The furnace itself was easy to find. It was very hot in that room. It reminded me a lot of the outside. On that note, comment "Go Touch Grass" down below. I wrote this script a couple of days ago, and I'll probably need to be reminded since my memory's gone completely to shit. And I probably haven't touched any grass today. Chop chop. Get to it. I tried to get a cool pose in front of the furnace while it was combusting, but I just fumbled the bag real hard. I wasn't quite done costing somebody a lot of money yet, as there was a nice refinery nearby. Would be a real shame if something bad happened. I found this flare gun there before I walked out, and I had this really cool idea, right? I was going to shoot it in someone's face. It was going to be awesome, and it just didn't work out. I'm quite sad about it. A steelworks was close by. Do I even really need to say much about it at this point? Things were operating. By the time I was done in there, things weren't really operating anymore. Somebody's gonna have to take all of that into the shop later. I'd hate to be the guy that has to inform his superiors that the entire facility was dismantled by a single man. I'm not that guy, so all I can say is, sucks. The intel that we gathered from my rampage through Nowhereville, Germany led me to the prototype of the operation that set to turn the tide of the war, Operation Kraken. Initially, I was going to make a Kraken D's nuts joke, but it's too easy and doesn't really feel rewarding. An unsuspecting victim was enjoying his time, glancing out over the waves of the oncoming current, perhaps scouting for local wildlife soaring through the skies. Unfortunately, I knocked him out and then threw him off a cliff head first. I don't care to get caught later. My grenade count was at 0, and this seemed to be the most humane way to dispose of the body. So I may have sniped a guy in this mission, but it wasn't with what you think. I found a Panzerfaust, which is just a rocket launcher. No one was using it. It was just sitting there loaded for some reason, so I Kobe'd that shit like 30 miles north of me and got a double kill with it. It was awesome. They had a radio tower station nearby, and I haven't destroyed anything on this mission yet, so I brought it downtown. I don't need anyone ruining the surprise I have. The surprise is death for everybody within 40 miles of me, but no one else needs to know that. That was the initial plan anyway, up until I accidentally raised the alarm and brought half the base directly to me. But because I'm playing as Mr. Carl Fairburn, I ate a bowl of nails this morning without any milk, opened a jar without any running hot water, and the day of anyone who bothered fighting against the video game protagonist. Kraken itself was the idea to submerge a few submarines with enough firepower to level a continent and send them against America. That will not fly. I'm the only one allowed to do that, and there just so happened to be some pressure valves around, and with some detonated charges, boom booms ricocheted off the walls everywhere and blew the entire thing wholesale. I feel bad for the guy who actually listened to me and detonated the charges. That is the biggest lie I've ever told. He's probably going to jail, or actually, he might just get shot. I wasn't totally confident that everything blew up, so I threw down another satchel charge for good measure. On my way to take care of my hit list target for the day, I found a little gnome which then proceeded to get shot. I also found a big ass gun and an artillery shell just lying around, so I did what I do best. I want to say it's so bad, but I'm forbidden to. Instead, have this clip to make up for it. My hit list target stood completely still, and this clip alone explains why I never made it big in esports. Mission complete, but that last bit made me a bit sad, man. The Battle of Normandy has arrived, and it was my job to liberate an entire town solo, because who else is gonna do it? German defenses were everywhere, and it was my duty to blow them all up by any means necessary. For once in my life, my hit for today was found relatively early, but I was lacking the key and or satchel charge to get into the room he barricaded himself in. So my next goal was to find those charges. 3 anti-air guns were scattered all around as well, so in total we need 4 satchel charges minimum, and that's if I don't want to take out the tank roaming around. This dude attempted a backflip and landed on his face. Allow me to borrow one from good old Saint Nick. Ho ho holy shit. This is why you leave your mark in certain places. Some snipers were killed and enemy reinforcements were called in. I looted bodies and buildings everywhere, but still no satchel charges to be found. I discovered a bunker, which also required a key or a satchel charge. Luckily, the key was on one of the bodies. You'd think an armory bunker with a multitude of supplies stuffed inside would have some satchel charges lying around. My disappointment, however, was immeasurable, and my day was ruined. All I found was an unconscious dude who I made sure would have a peaceful sleep, and the venture continues on. Just north of the map, I found a bridge that was cut off by a bunch of rubble. I blew it up with some non-satchel charges. The dudes with guns weren't an issue, and the tank itself was just a bad but sad boy. Yet even as my expedition continues, buildings everywhere around me were looted, still no satchel charges to be found. I was getting frustrated, and I could have exfiltrated immediately after that tank was done, but I was determined to find those satchel charges. Things still needed to be blown up, and I do not like an incomplete hit list. It was 20 minutes of non-stop torture, sifting through structure after structure, house after house, decaying bodies everywhere from the battles I'd already won. I was so close to just giving up and moving on, but then I had a shred of hope. The workbench location surely must have satchel charges. I bring up the Google search, find my way in through the puzzle, and inside one of the crates was like a gift from God himself. Motivated by what I'm calling the one, I scour the map further, checking other workbenches and the last couple of areas I've yet to check. The workbenches were disappointments, but a windmill tower of all places housed not 2, not 4, but 3 satchel charges for yours truly. I had officially won, ladies and gentlemen and non-binaries. 4 satchel charges obtained, 3 more AA guns were blown up, my hit list target was dead, and I finally got out of there with peace of mind. Intel from the last mission points us to the facility supposedly where the mole's master plan is for Operation Kraken. It started off with Carl jumping off a bridge and down onto an oncoming train. Yeah, there is absolutely nothing that this man can't do. Before we could have our fun blowing shit up, I don't even care about the limit at this point. We had to neutralize a radio tower to prevent more dudes with guns roaming my way. Standard patrols were guarding it, nothing I couldn't handle, so I had a little fun with this. My goal was to knock out 5 guys, so I knocked out 5 guys. I smashed them all, I lined them up, and I blew their brains out. I'm not sure whether this lies on the merciful or merciless end of the spectrum. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. The radio tower was now a pile of scrap metal, and now we gotta find out why some tanks are roaming around. I only just realized while watching the recording back, but I was dying laughing when I first saw this. Don't question my state of mind. It's f***ed, I know. Elite snipers were now roaming around, and this game just loves to twist the knife even further. I'm not worthy, I get it. I'm not exactly sure what happened here, but I don't feel like the 7-car pileup was meant to happen like this. But if I were an intelligent individual, this would have been a clear foreshadow report. Inside of Team Rocket's secret base was my hit, and I'm not mad but just disappointed with how easy it was to knock him. I call this Team Rocket's base because, well, yeah, you get the idea. While raiding their hidden vault, things got a little fun, and the 7-car pileup I mentioned earlier all brought their heat down onto me. It was quite a long endeavor, and I'm very thankful for the medkits and bandages that I had. It was the closest I've come to dying up to this point, and I had no desire to get a gravestone ingrained. Regardless, I won in the end because I am all of me, and all of their dirty secrets would be forever exposed to anyone who bothers to listen to yours truly, so about 3 people. Whoever engineered the capsule that holds these rockets needs to be fired. Just look at the screen if you want to know why. That should not have happened as easy as it did. I decided to test my electrical skills on a V2 rocket because I read that in a book once, and books never lie. Considering the circumstances and all, I'd say this is a massive success. Wouldn't you agree? Overloading some valves for a liquid nitrogen pipeline sounds like a great pastime. It's like these fools just want me to have fun. When somebody decides to sound the alarms, I know I did good work. The last step here was finding the big bad war room that housed the most lucrative of secrets. Nobody said it was going to be easy though, and considering I woke up that morning and chose violence, it was going to be a very fun time. It was 20 versus 1. They were at a massive disadvantage. They should have brought more guys because one Sten and one M1911 from the video game protagonist of all people is inevitably going to win the entire war. Turns out this place was never the actual end game, but rather a test site, and now I'm really pissed off. The mole called a nearby phone. I told him I stole his golden Oreos from the compound and dipped out before he could even reply back. The Kraken was near and there was one last job to do. The town laying before the secret base base was no walk in the park, and I don't mean it that it was hard to get through, it was just completely disgusting because these assholes blew it up. Regardless, it housed quite the battlefield for a solid 15 minutes before I found my way to my first objective, where we had to dismantle even more radio equipment. I swear half the missions in this campaign had the exact same optional objective, but it's fine, I suppose. You can definitely pinpoint that this mission was fluffed up thanks to the never-ending crowd count. Considering there was only one name left on my hit list, I prepared a special bullet with his name on it. I never speak of their names because the perpetrators of madness deserve zero recognition. Storming a beachside under the castle was not how I envisioned things going when I woke up that morning, but Mr. Fabian Richter is next on my hit list, and there's probably going to be a lot of bloodshed on the way there. Mr. Fabian Richter is next on my hit list. Mr. Fabian Richter is next. I know I said I had a bullet with his name on it, but that bullet increased to like 15 very quickly. Maybe there's a reason why I don't deserve to use snipers. I'll give him this though, his drip game, not too shabby. Before long, we entered some sewers to finish what we started. I learned from 2 missions ago that wasting satchel charges is a terrible idea, and it was on to finish Kraken in the mole for good. I grabbed this 100-round Tommy gun out of this crate, and I went to work. One of these days, I'm gonna make a video on that game. Only thing left to do now was to destroy these submarines. I'm convinced there was an inside man setting things up for me because the first sub had a torpedo on a damn cart just sitting there. Releasing a break could not have been any easier. The second one had controls where I decided to test my skills once again. I am really good at being an electrician. A simple valve was turned and the third U-boat was destroyed. The rest of the fleet was now revealed to me along with a cacophony on the other side called people. The people were no better than any other people that have fallen to my ammunition. Turning a valve in this game means things are set up to spontaneously combust. I flipped some switches that do things and blew a lot of shit up. Before everything went completely down for the count though, they turned the explosives off and I had to make a good shot count to completely finish the job. My regular pistol wasn't working, so I tried my secondary Sten, but that proved ineffective as well. I thought this was it. It's over and impossible. Nothing I used was working, and I had failed. But then I realized something and thought to myself, what do I got to lose? Instead of using regular ammo, I switched to armor-piercing rounds, and one clean shot from the 1911 ripped everything in there apart. I would say that was the end, but we gotta take a quick trip back to Mission 2 Chateau to tie up some loose ends. The mole bastard, who got fired from an even bigger bastard, retreated back to his fancy abode to go live in paradise. I was not letting that happen. Hitting the guy was easy enough once I knew where he was, but getting that kill shot was not so simple. No sniper means I'm attempting to kill him with a pistol from well over 150 meters away. Turns out I didn't have to blow his brains out, just bash his car until it explodes. It worked because this game has some semblance of reality mixed into it. All 9 missions were complete, nowhere is required to use a primary weapon of any kind, and I beat Sniper Elite 5 without using sniper rifles. If you enjoyed this video, consider leaving it a like, or if you hated it, leave it a dislike. And if you haven't already, and you like what you see on the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. Helps me out a ton. If you want to support me further, go ahead and check out my Patreon at patreon.com/Deelwheels and giving whatever you feel like. It helps fund these projects. Have a good one. Peace out.